Okay, in today's recording, we're going to learn how to create your own style of paintbrush. When you're using lines, you want to multiply them a lot as opposed to copying and pasting, or even making something that's more randomized. It's easiest to make a brush. So I'm going to start with my line tool, and I'm going to customize my lines. I'm going to have a black line, 1 point, and just draw a straight line down. Now, here's my straight line. I'll just move that up with the arrow key so it's centered a little bit more. And I want to make it not so straight, so I can change here the actual weighting of it. I can also make it less visible by changing the opacity. If you want to go more into detail, there's other styles that you could put on top of it, but that's all I'm going to do right now. I'm going to copy it and paste it in place. And to paste in place, you go Shift Command V at the same time as opposed to just Command V. Shift Command V ensures it goes right on top. Now I'm going to grab my black cursor and I'm going to right click it and transform by rotating 90 degrees. Now I have a perfect kind of spearhead. I'm going to select both of these, copy and paste them, and minimize and rotate about 45 degrees and place right on top. So here's the brush I've created. I can choose to group this at any size or save it at any size. I'm going to minimize it so it's not as dominant on my screen. So it's just a part of the design there. What you're going to do is create a new brush. So how did I get here? Cancel this. This is the brush icon right on the side. It looks like a brush palette. If you don't have your little container of brushes, you go to Window, Brushes. Okay? You open it up. You hit the new button, just it looks like the new layer button. It's the new brush. And you select the word, if I have it selected, you can go to New Brush. And you're going to go to Scatter Brush, Select. And so here I'm setting my details. So I'm just going to call this Star Scatter. I could spell star scatter. I can change the spacing, the size, so I want them to not be so next to each other, so I'm going to say spacing, kind of throw it around, scatter it, go high scatter, have some rotations in there, awesome. Now when I go to use my brush, I can select my paintbrush on my side here, select the brush that I've created, and scatter brush it. And my document's very small. So I can scatter brush it. I have a really high spacing across it, so maybe I need to minimize the spacing. So I can double click it and say a little more controlled, and now I can see that looks better. Apply to strokes, and so now it's more confined. Now if I wanted this to be one straight line of stars, notice how when I'm drawing my line, it looks like a straight line. As you can see, the little blue dots are pretty straight. But we're scatter brush, so it kind of goes where it wants to go. It's not necessarily a straight line. If you wanted to create a file that was a straight line and it became a line of lines, and so in this case a line of our star, what you do is you select it and you go to the new, but you create a pattern brush, and so just essentially the whole line is the pattern, so star straight. Okay? Now, when I grab my star brush, it's here, and look, you'll see that I can't do just one like I could the other. I have to create a line of them. So when I go across, this is my line, it will fill right across whichever way I paint. So if I hold Shift, it will be that straighter line, and it will go right next to each other, touching. Okay? It is just a brush, so if you find that you want to change the color or the size, it's now set to be a brush. So I could have this one be really large, with a different color, and again when I draw my line I have more brushes and I have my opacity really down. Oh, I lied. The brush color you'd have to set separately. Okay, so that's how you create your quick brushes. So that if you're doing a project with lots of lines that are repeating itself, as opposed to creating it each time, you would just create one file, upload it to your brushes, and then it will transfer over. And the same goes if you kind of create, if I wanted to create a couple of lines that were more curvy, do that, sorry, with just a regular. So if I grab just a regular paintbrush at the beginning, just like I'm making a new brush, let me lengthen my brush, change to basic. If I create a couple lines too, it doesn't have to be a shape, so I created a shape for you guys there, stuck on camera there. So you can create something more basic. Why is my brush addicted to the star brush now? So if I'm on my regular 5-point round, 1 point, grab my paintbrush, 5-point, there we go. So if I create a couple lines, I could take this line brush and actually upload it too. So I'm trying to show something basic. It doesn't have to be just a shape. That itself could be my scatter brush. And if I created this detailed line fixture, I could then, let's leave that, here's my paintbrush, I could then create it for a scatter line too. So it doesn't have to be a shape, you'll have your lines going scattered as well. So if you're looking to create dimension and depth within something, this is kind of helpful to do as well when you set your one-time brush. Hope this helps.